Several new developments in South Suburban Dalton today. First, the state comptroller has suspended some payments to the village because it has failed to follow the law by providing financial reports.
Tiffany Henyard, the self-proclaimed super mayor of Dalton, has become a polarizing figure, stirring up controversy rather than the calm leadership expected from a local official. Her strained relationship with the Dalton City Council, questionable spending practices, and a lifestyle resembling that of a celebrity rather than a public servant have sparked widespread criticism. The most recent development involves Henyard allegedly using her influence over the police force to target her critics, with rumors circulating that she may even arrest members of the city council. Henyard's rise from mayor to what some now call the Dalton dictator raises serious concerns about her leadership and its implications for the town.
Appointment, that's what the trustees I talked to are calling this. They say the news took them by surprise, and now they're talking to legal counsel.
Tiffany Henyard, elected mayor of Dalton, a modest town on the outskirts of Chicago, in 2021, came to office with promises of transformative leadership. She vowed to bring change and progress to the community, positioning herself as a beacon of renewal. However, her tenure has quickly become synonymous with controversy. Is Henyard genuinely working to uplift Dalton, or is she leveraging her position for personal gain? The mounting scandals surrounding her administration suggest the latter, painting a picture of governance fraught with discord, mistrust, and alleged abuses of power. One of the most polarizing accusations against Henyard is that she has been misusing Dalton's police force as her personal security detail. Critics argue this move crosses ethical boundaries, with some fearing it signals a shift toward authoritarianism. Instead of fostering transparency and unity, Henyard has allegedly sought to silence dissent, creating a climate of intimidation where residents and critics are reluctant to speak out against her. This situation has played out like a political drama, rife with accusations of defiance, fierce opposition, and personal ambition. It has captivated observers while leaving many concerned about Dalton's future under Henyard's leadership. From the beginning, Henyard's approach to leadership signaled a departure from the traditional model. She promised bold actions that some hoped would revitalize Dalton, a town that has long struggled with socioeconomic challenges. However, her administration's trajectory has instead been marked by a series of public disputes and allegations, fueling frustrations that her promises of progress have failed to deliver tangible improvements. As her tenure continues, a growing number of residents perceive Henyard's focus to be more about consolidating her own power than addressing the pressing needs of her community. Henyard's leadership style has drawn sharp criticism, with many describing her as increasingly autocratic. Among the most concerning allegations is her purported use of local law enforcement to serve personal agendas, which has only reinforced fears of unchecked authority. Reports suggest that residents have raised concerns about these actions at community meetings, only to be met with a lack of accountability and an apparent disdain for constructive criticism. This has deepened the rift between Henyard and the very people she was elected to serve, creating a political climate fraught with tension. At the heart of this conflict are the starkly different narratives advanced by Henyard's supporters and her detractors. Her supporters argue that she is a resilient figure who has faced relentless criticism while staying true to her vision for Dalton. They view her as a misunderstood leader, committed to the town's progress despite considerable resistance. In contrast, her opponents see Henyard's actions as emblematic of a leadership style that prioritizes control and optics over collaboration and substance. The allegations of misusing public resources for personal gain, particularly through the alleged mismanagement of the police department, are at the forefront of the discontent. This has painted a troubling portrait of a mayor who seems increasingly detached from the community's needs and concerns. Henyard's governance has increasingly come into conflict with democratic principles. Her critics argue that her leadership reflects more self-interest than public service, pointing to stories of high profitable expenditures and decisions that seem to ignore the town's most pressing challenges. As the gap between her public persona and the lived experiences of many Dalton residents widens, skepticism about her priorities has grown. Many question her commitment to equitable and effective leadership, especially in a town where systemic issues demand concerted, transparent efforts. The situation in Dalton has become more than just a political battle. It represents a struggle over the core ideals of representation and accountability. The allegations against Henyard, including the alleged misuse of municipal resources for personal purposes, resistance to oversight, and suppression of dissent, paint a picture of leadership at odds with the expectations of the community. Residents who once hoped Henyard's administration would bring positive change are increasingly expressing their frustration, with their voices echoing in meetings and public statements that challenge the direction of her governance. Achi Tekori. Despite this mounting opposition, Henyard remains undeterred. She continues to project confidence, dismissing many of the concerns as politically motivated efforts to undermine her. Her dismissive attitude toward criticism, however, only adds to the growing perception that she is more interested in maintaining her grip on power than in addressing the needs of the people who elected her. As tensions continue to rise, it remains to be seen whether Henyard can regain the trust of Dalton's residents or if her leadership will continue to spiral into deeper conflict. For Dalton, a town already grappling with numerous challenges, the stakes have never been higher. The outcome of this political drama will likely have lasting implications not just for Henyard's future, but for the community's ability to overcome its struggles and find a path toward effective, inclusive governance. The people of Dalton are left wondering, can they count on their mayor to put the town first, or will they be forced to reckon with a leader more focused on her own ambitions?
Wrong is wrong, and there's a time to hold people responsible and accountable for.
The atmosphere at Dalton's town hall meetings has become increasingly tense under Mayor Tiffany Henyard's leadership. What was once a platform for addressing community concerns has transformed into a high-stakes battleground. While some residents attend with hopes of resolving urgent issues, others are drawn to the spectacle, knowing the drama that typically accompanies these gatherings. Witnesses describe a disturbing dynamic where Henyard, often flanked by police officers, allegedly serving as her personal security detail, makes her entrance, reinforcing a leadership style that critics label as heavy-handed and autocratic. Henyard's well-known disdain for criticism has become a central issue in the town's fractured political landscape. Her responses to opposition have only amplified accusations that her leadership is more driven by self-preservation than by a genuine desire for collaboration or community improvement. Recently, during a Facebook Live broadcast, Henyard escalated tensions further by hinting at the possibility of legal action against certain council members, accusing them of involvement in what she called a money-grab conspiracy. This claim adds another layer of complexity to her already controversial administration, painting a picture of a mayor at odds not only with the public, but also with her fellow government colleagues. The public's growing perception is that the town's political landscape is becoming one of distrust and division. As the controversy continues to unfold, reports have surfaced alleging that Henyard has used public resources, including taxpayer-funded police officers, to surveil her perceived adversaries. According to these reports, she has directed officers to track council members around town, an action many interpret as a blatant attempt to intimidate and suppress dissent. This alleged misuse of law enforcement has sparked outrage among residents, who view it as a direct violation of democratic principles and an abuse of public resources. Critics argue that this behavior reflects a broader pattern of Henyard prioritizing personal vendettas over the collective good of Dalton. The mounting tensions between Henyard and various factions of the community have turned town hall meetings into arenas of power struggles, rather than platforms for constructive dialogue. These gatherings have increasingly highlighted the widening rift between Henyard and the residents she was elected to serve. As accusations of misconduct and abuse of power continue to surface, critics are growing bolder in their demands for transparency and leadership that prioritizes the needs of the community. Many argue that Henyard's actions are not just political squabbles, but indicative of a more troubling misuse of power. Insiders within Dalton claim that Henyard has given direct orders to the police to monitor council members who have publicly opposed her. These accusations suggest a calculated and audacious effort by the mayor to consolidate power by silencing those who challenge her policies. If true, the claims point to a leader more focused on quashing dissent than addressing the pressing concerns of her constituents. One particularly disturbing revelation involves Henyard allegedly instructing Robert Collins, Dalton's former chief of police, to target specific individuals on her behalf, with the aim of advancing her political agenda. Such actions, if verified, have ignited outrage both among council members and residents, who view them as an assault on the democratic process. For many in Dalton, these alleged maneuvers go far beyond personal vendettas. They represent a direct threat to their autonomy and their right to participate in local governance. Residents and council members alike have expressed deep frustration, feeling that their voices are being systematically silenced by an administration unwilling to tolerate dissent. Henyard's actions, which critics argue are designed to protect her own political power at all costs, have fueled a growing sense of disillusionment and mistrust within the community. End quote, in Glass's baseball post, end quote. As the political turmoil in Dalton escalates, the stakes are higher than ever. Henyard's approach, described by critics as authoritarian and dismissive, has polarized the town. Those calling for change argue that her aggressive tactics are a betrayal of the trust placed in her as an elected official. They see her actions as a blatant disregard for the principles of transparency, fairness, and the public's right to a voice in local governance. In a small town like Dalton, where community trust is essential, these allegedly coercive tactics have sparked widespread indignation. The political crisis in Dalton represents a turning point in the relationship between Henyard and the people she governs. The actions of the mayor, whether it is using law enforcement to suppress dissent or dismissing calls for accountability, have raised urgent questions about the future of the town. As residents and council members continue to demand change, the possibility of a leadership shift looms. Henyard's tenure, marked by allegations of power consolidation and disregard for democratic values, has ignited a firestorm of frustration that could ultimately define her legacy in Dalton.
I talked to Tiffany Henyard's landlord, and she says she came to this Thornton Township meeting Tuesday night hoping to get paid.
The controversies surrounding Mayor Tiffany Henyard are as sprawling as they are concerning, with the most striking being allegations of financial mismanagement that have placed Dalton in a precarious economic situation. Accusations of excessive spending and questionable financial priorities have dominated local discourse, casting Henyard as a leader more focused on extravagance than fiscal responsibility. These claims are supported by an investigation led by Lori Lightfoot, Chicago's former mayor, who was called in to assess Dalton's financial state. The findings from Lightfoot's assessment reveal a disturbing narrative. Under Henyard's leadership, the town's general fund balance has plunged from a $561 million surplus to a staggering $365 million deficit by May 2024. This dramatic shift has left residents and critics alike asking a critical question: where did all the money go? The investigation paints an alarming picture, suggesting that funds originally earmarked for essential public services and infrastructure improvements have been diverted toward expenditures considered frivolous or self-serving. Lascious events, luxury travel, and personal projects top the list of questionable expenses that critics argue have done little to benefit the broader community. This scale of spending has fueled a growing sense of mistrust among Dalton's residents, who believe the town's leadership is more invested in optics and self-promotion than in addressing the pressing needs of the community. As the town's financial situation deteriorates, so too does the patience of its residents, many of whom feel that the mayor's priorities are fundamentally misaligned with Dalton's best interests. Public outrage has intensified as these concerns intersect with Henyard's growing reputation for heavy-handed governance and a tendency to suppress criticism. Despite this mounting discontent, Henyard has consistently maintained her innocence, deflecting blame onto external forces or political adversaries. However, this stance has done little to quell the frustrations simmering among the town's constituents. The financial downturn under Henyard's leadership is not just about numbers on a ledger. It has real, tangible consequences for Dalton's community. As resources dwindle, public services have suffered, leading to delays in infrastructure projects and cuts to programs that are essential for the town's well-being. The economic strain has deepened the rift between Henyard's administration and the residents, who are seeing their tax dollars vanish into initiatives they feel do not serve the public good. At town hall meetings and public forums, citizens have voiced their displeasure, demanding answers and accountability from a leader they believe has failed them. Complicating matters further are allegations that Henyard's spending is not merely reckless, but strategically aimed at consolidating power. Some argue that her use of municipal funds for events and projects is an attempt to curry favor with certain constituencies, reinforcing her political base even as broader community support wanes. These allegations cast Henry's financial decisions in an even harsher light, suggesting that her spending may be less about effective governance and more about self-preservation in a contentious political climate. As the financial crisis deepens, the narrative surrounding Henyard's tenure has become increasingly dire. What was once seen as an administration plagued by controversy has, in the eyes of many, evolved into a cautionary tale of unchecked authority and misplaced priorities. Dalton now finds itself at a crossroads, grappling not only with immediate economic challenges, but also with the broader implications of leadership that critics argue has prioritized personal ambition over public trust. The question that looms large is whether the town can recover from the financial and reputational damage inflicted during Henyard's term, or whether these controversies mark the beginning of a prolonged decline. Amid this turmoil, one thing is clear: the residents of Dalton are no longer willing to sit idly by. Community members have begun to organize, and their calls for accountability are growing louder and more urgent with each passing day. Whether through petitions, public demonstrations, or grassroots campaigns, Dalton citizens are making their dissatisfaction known, signaling a collective refusal to accept the status quo. This groundswell of activism may prove to be the most significant check on Henyard's power, as residents strive to reclaim their town's future from what they see as the clutches of mismanagement and neglect. The financial crisis, coupled with the growing disillusionment of Dolton's citizens, has created an environment of intense political pressure. Henyard's leadership, already in the crosshairs due to her controversial spending and alleged abuse of power, now faces the challenge of confronting an organized and vocal opposition. Whether Henyard can salvage her political career, or whether Dolton will chart a new path forward, remains to be seen. But for now, the future of Dolton hangs in the balance, with the town's residents demanding a leadership that prioritizes their needs over personal gain.
Arrest for individuals involved. I will be pressing charges.
Controversy surrounding Mayor Tiffany Henyard has reached new heights, with shocking allegations regarding her financial mismanagement. The most striking accusations center around Henyard's alleged misuse of Dolton's funds for personal luxuries. Reports suggest that she charged items from Amazon, Target, Walgreens, and Wayfair to Dolton's credit cards for upscale purchases with no apparent connection to the town's needs. One particularly eyebrow-raising instance cited in the report is a $43,000 spending spree on Amazon, along with two other purchases of around $5,000 each on the same day, and a $7,000 Wayfair charge in a single day. Trustees and residents were taken aback by these revelations, questioning how such expenditures could possibly help a town already struggling financially. This was not just a case of online shopping. Henyard's lavish trips have also raised eyebrows. Village records indicate that Henyard and her staff traveled first class to cities such as New York, Portland, and Atlanta, with high-end accommodations to match. During one trip to Atlanta, Henyard stayed at the Four Seasons, racking up nearly $9,000 in hotel costs, while in New York, she reportedly spent $113,000 at the Marriott Marquis in Times Square. Meanwhile, Dolton residents were facing challenges like delayed public services, and some were even concerned about the town's ability to pay its employees. For many, these extravagant expenditures have only intensified frustrations, as the mayor's spending habits stand in stark contrast to the town's financial struggles. Andrew McKay, a local resident, expressed a sense of personal betrayal, highlighting how some elderly residents in Dolton are struggling to meet basic needs, while Henyard indulges in luxury. Trustees like Tammy Brown have also joined the chorus calling for reform, with Brown declaring that Dolton needs a clean house by the next election. As Henyard's influence remains widespread, it seems that the town may be heading towards significant political upheaval if the residents have their way. Henyard's spending spree wasn't limited to Dolton. She also serves as the supervisor of nearby Thornton Township, where credit card records reportedly show over $67,000 spent on meals, trips, and other expenses unrelated to the township's business. Critics have pointed to these expenditures as further evidence of her pattern of prioritizing personal luxuries over public service. Henyard has been spotted at high prefaces at dinners and even met with the president at one point. Some of her detractors claim these outings are nothing more than publicity stunts. But Henyard defends her actions, arguing that these trips are crucial for establishing relationships and securing resources for her community. However, many residents remain unconvinced, questioning whether her lavish lifestyle is truly in the best interests of the people she was elected to serve. As if this financial misconduct weren't enough, the FBI has reportedly launched an investigation into Henyard's administration. Federal subpoenas have been issued to Target, Thornton Township, and other entities, which may spell serious legal trouble for the mayor. While Henyard's supporters have dismissed the investigation as a politically motivated smear campaign, critics hope it will bring much-needed transparency to Dolton's financial turmoil. Despite the growing federal scrutiny, Henyard has shown no signs of backing down. In fact, she seems to be doubling down on her political ambitions, launching her re-election campaign with an air of confidence, as if she believes she is invincible. Despite the avalanche of criticism, Henyard insists she is still Dolton's best option, claiming that her opponents are simply envious of her success. She has gone as far as to argue that everything we do is for the people, and that the ongoing investigations are just another obstacle to overcome. Many of her critics, however, see things differently, alleging that Henyard has resorted to intimidation tactics to silence opposition. One particularly disturbing account comes from Lawrence Gardner, the owner of Alton Trucking, who claims that his business license was revoked after he refused to pay Henyard's so-called annual contribution to her campaign. According to Gardner, after he stopped making the payments, city officials found reasons to shut down his business. This has reportedly not been an isolated incident. Other business owners have come forward with similar stories, alleging that Henyard uses her power to retaliate against anyone who does not support her politically. These accounts paint a picture of a leader more concerned with consolidating power than serving her community. As Henyard prepares for re-election, her past actions are beginning to catch up with her. Janetta Hall, a landlord, has filed an eviction lawsuit against Henyard and her boyfriend, Kamal Woods, claiming that the pair has not paid rent since August. Hall, who once trusted Henyard and supported her promises of change, now feels betrayed. This is just another chapter in Henyard's controversial tenure as mayor, as her financial mismanagement, alleged retaliation against business owners, and lavish lifestyle continue to spark outrage among Dolton's residents. The mounting federal investigations are only adding to the uncertainty surrounding Henyard's future in office. Many are asking whether this is the beginning of the end for Dolton's supermayor or just another chapter in a long-running saga of controversy. As Henyard continues to assert that she is working in the best interests of Dolton, her extravagant lifestyle and autocratic approach to governance have left many residents skeptical. They are questioning whether the mayor's actions reflect true public service or if they reveal a more troubling pattern of self-interest and power consolidation. The FBI's intervention, while still in its early stages, has already begun to intensify the pressure on Henyard. If the investigation uncovers further evidence of financial misconduct or other abuses of power, it could potentially lead to criminal charges, marking a dramatic turning point in her political career. In the meantime, the residents of Dolton are left grappling with the uncertainty of their town's future. Will they finally see accountability for Henyard's alleged actions? Or will the mayor continue to wield her influence, using the town's resources to maintain control and suppress opposition? The coming months will be crucial for both Henyard and Dolton, as the town's financial situation continues to worsen and the investigation into Henyard's administration deepens. It is clear that the mayor's leadership has sparked widespread discontent. The outcome of the federal probe and the upcoming election will likely determine whether Dolton can recover from the damage inflicted by Henyard's controversial leadership. For now, Dolton's residents are watching closely, hoping that the truth will come to light and that they can reclaim their town from what many now see as a spectacle of power and privilege. The future of Dolton remains uncertain, but one thing is clear: the battle for the town's future has only just begun.